Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 13 of Cooking with Ross. This episode is going to be ground beef green chili burritos. And there's a little story behind that. My dad grew up in 5 Points in Denver, Colorado. And if you don't know what 5 Points is, you can Google it. But anyways, things back then were hard. There was a melting pot of all kinds of different nationalities and people in that neighborhood. Some parts of the neighborhood were really rich and some parts were really poor. And my dad grew up on the poor side. But anyways, he met a Hispanic family, and the mother showed my grandma how to make ground beef green chili burritos. And it was a good thing to make on a budget because it's not really expensive. So today that's exactly what we're going to do. And do you like the new look? Same dipstick, just more facial hair. Oh, anyways, without further ado, let's get cooking. Okay, everybody, so things we're going to need for the ground beef green chili burritos. First of all, I've got a pound of ground beef here. This is actually a little more than a pound because it's cheap ground beef, and I'm accounting for the fat content, okay? So it's going to end up being about a pound. It's actually about 1.5 pounds, but we're going to lose 27% of that in fat. So also cheese, and you can use, I use cheddar and jack, but you can use whatever cheese you want. And then we have some tortillas, right? Some garlic, and it doesn't take a whole lot of garlic, just a little bit. A couple of little cloves, maybe 3. And then I have green chilies, okay? And these right here are hot and mild. I got 2 cans of mild and 2 cans of hot, okay? Hunt's whole tomatoes, whatever kind you want. Just make sure they're whole and make sure there's no basil or garlic in them, okay? And then some lettuce, all right? You'll need a head of lettuce or a little less. And then I think, let me see, a little bit of chili powder, and then of course salt and pepper. All right. So now that we know what we need, let's get cooking. Okay, so basically what I've done is I've got my pan on here. I've got it up about 8. All right, medium high, and then put my ground beef in there, and we're going to start that to simmer. And once it's done completely, we're going to go ahead and drain it. Okay. All right, so this is done now. And, you know, they say 27% oil, but it looks like more than that fat, doesn't it? So what we're going to do now is just drain this. All right, so I've drained our ground beef. I'm going to put it back in the pan. And as you can hear, it's still hot. All right. Next thing we're going to do is dump in all of our other canned ingredients, all right? All your green chilies, your tomatoes. We're going to dump them all in. 4 cans of chilies, 2 hot, 2 mild. And 1 can of whole tomatoes, all right? Once we get those in there, we're going to start to chop these tomatoes down a little bit. And then, once you get your tomatoes chopped a little bit, okay, then we're just going to let this simmer. And as it simmers, those tomatoes are going to break down. And what you're going to want to do is let this simmer until all the liquid goes out of it, all right? Okay, so I've got my garlic in there, only like 3 cloves of garlic, okay? And then I'm going to put in some chili powder, and as y'all know, I use Gebhardt's. It's the best that you can buy. And you're just going to put a light layer over the top of this, and that's all, okay? And then we'll add a little bit of salt and pepper, just to season, and then we're just going to let this simmer. Now I have all my ingredients in there, and we're going to turn the heat down to medium-low. Just enough heat to keep this simmering. We don't want it to boil, we just want it to simmer. And it's probably going to take somewhere between an hour and an hour and a half. And what we're trying to do is just simmer the liquid out of that and get all that flavor. Now all the time that you're watching this, as you can see, there's not a lot of liquid in here, and we've only been going about 10 minutes. So it's okay to add some water to this. Don't add so much that you're going to dilute the flavor, but it's okay to add, like right now I'd add 2 cups of water. All right. Okay, so now if you look at it, I've added about 1.5 cups in there of water. And that's just fine because it's going to simmer for about an hour and a half. And we're only about 10 minutes in, maybe 15 right now. And it's okay to taste this as it goes along, just to see how your flavor's coming. But that looks just exactly like what we need. Well, and feel free to add any seasonings. You know, if you think it needs a little more chili powder, add just a touch. Add a little bit at a time because the chili powder takes a little bit of time to cook out, okay? And same thing with the salt and the pepper. Just give it a little time after you add it. Okay, so this is simmering right along now. And you'll notice you still have some chunks of tomato in there, so it's okay to keep chopping those. Check this about every 15 minutes and keep chopping the tomatoes. And you're probably wondering, why didn't you just get diced tomatoes? Well, I've tried this recipe with diced tomatoes. I've tried it with crushed tomatoes, and it never comes out right. And I think it's because of the juice content. The whole tomatoes seem to have more juice, which makes for a better sauce. Whereas the crushed tomatoes and the diced tomatoes, they just don't have enough juice. So it never comes out right. So just use your whole tomatoes and chop them up. And that's the way the recipe works. And it always turns out dynamite. Okay, so as you can see, the moisture is really starting to simmer out of this. And it's looking really good. Okay, so we're just going to shave some lettuce here. Just go right down like this and just shave it, okay? It's just me and my beautiful wife tonight, so we don't need a whole bunch. Alright, so we're first going to shave that. Look at that. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Next is our cheese. Okay, so next we're going to grate some cheese. And I have two kinds because I love two kinds of cheese. I like my cheddar and I like my jack. Now you can also use Colby, but it's very mild. This is actually sharp cheddar, which I love. Alright, so as we can see here, most of our moisture is gone out of here. Alright, look at that. It looks really good. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull this to one side, just like that, and then we'll put a spoon underneath it to give it a tilt. And that's going to let any juice that's left run off to the side. So now we're good. I've got a tortilla in the microwave. We're going to go about 30 seconds. Move this stuff over here. All right, so we're going to put a little of that burrito meat on there. Then a little bit of grated cheese. And then a little bit of lettuce. All right, and then we're just going to roll this thing up. Just like that. And we want to tuck one end. Okay? And any juice that's left, that will stop it from leaking out. Okay guys, it's time to taste this burrito. Oh, it's so good. Sorry. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please tune in next time on Cooking with Ross. Until then, take care of each other.